Hello everybody, and welcome to another virtual summer reading story time. This summer's theme is Tales and Tales, so we get to spend all summer reading books about animals. This week we'll be reading about animals that live in the polar regions, the North Pole and the South Pole. The polar regions are very cold, so every animal and plant that lives there has to adapt, and there are very few plants that live there. So most animals in the polar regions are carnivores, meaning that they eat other animals. Today we're going to start by reading a book by Bill Martin Jr. and illustrated by Eric Carle. You might have read this one before. It's called Polar Bear, What Do You Hear? When we read this book, feel free to make the same sounds that the animals make as we go through. If you hear a lion roar, be ready to roar with the lion too. Polar Bear, What Do You Hear? Written by Bill Martin Jr. and illustrated by Eric Carle. Polar Bear, what do you hear?
I hear a lion roaring in my ear.
Lion, what do you hear?
I hear a hippopotamus snorting in my ear.
Hippopotamus, what do you hear?
I hear a flamingo fluting in my ear.
Flamingo, what do you hear?
I hear a zebra braying in my ear.
Zebra, what do you hear?
I hear a boa constrictor hissing in my ear.
Boa constrictor, what do you hear?
I hear an elephant trumpeting in my ear.
Elephant, what do you hear?
I hear a leopard snarling in my ear.
Leopard, what do you hear?
I hear a peacock yelping in my ear.
Peacock, what do you hear?
I hear a walrus bellowing in my ear.
Walrus, what do you hear?
I hear a zookeeper whistling in my ear.
Zookeeper, what do you hear?
I hear children
growling like a polar bear, roaring like a lion, snorting like a hippopotamus, fluting like a flamingo, braying like a zebra, hissing like a boa constrictor, trumpeting like an elephant, snarling like a leopard, yelping like a peacock, and bellowing like a walrus. The end. That story was called Polar Bear, What Do You Hear? Written by Bill Martin Jr. and illustrated by Eric Carle. Our second book for today is a nonfiction book. This means that the words inside are all factual or true. This book is about walruses, an animal that lives in the polar regions. It'll tell you all about walruses, from how they're born to how they grow up to what they do. This story is called Walruses by Julie Murray. Amazing Arctic animals. Earth has many different regions, but few stand out as much as the Arctic. This is the northernmost part of Earth. The area is known for its freezing cold weather and great sheets of ice. The Arctic includes land from several continents. It also includes the Arctic Ocean and the huge sea of ice that floats on it. The Arctic is home to many interesting animals. One of these is the walrus. Let's take a closer look. Walruses have long, rounded bodies. They have 4 small, flat flippers. A walrus has small eyes on the sides of its head. Its short snout has thick whiskers. Walruses are large animals. Adults are 7 to 12 feet long. They weigh 880 to 3,700 pounds. Females are smaller than males. A walrus has a layer of fat under its skin. This fat is called blubber. It can be up to 4 inches thick. Blubber helps trap heat inside a walrus's body, which really helps up in the Arctic where it gets very, very cold. Useful tusks. Walruses are known for their large tusks. Both males and females have tusks, but the tusks of males are larger. They can grow more than 3 feet long. Walruses have many uses for their tusks. They use them as hooks to pull their large bodies out of the water, and they use them to break breathing holes in ice, and they use them to fight predators and each other. Baby walruses. Walruses are mammals. Females usually have 1 baby at a time. They give birth on land or sea ice. Baby walruses are called calves. At birth, a calf weighs 100 to 165 pounds. It drinks its mother's milk and grows. Look how cute a baby walrus looks. A walrus calf can swim right after being born, but it takes about a month for it to swim well. A calf follows its mother while she searches for food. It can drink milk on land or underwater. After about 6 months, a walrus calf starts eating food. It stops drinking milk after about 2 years. A calf usually leaves its mother at this time, but if its mother is not expecting a new baby, it may stay longer. Survivors. Life in the Arctic isn't easy for walruses. Long ago, people commonly hunted them. Pollution and businesses such as shipping harm their habitat, and global warming is melting Arctic sea ice. Walruses rest and give birth in this ice. Still, walruses survive. There are laws that limit hunting them, and people work to make sure they have large, clean places to live freely. Walruses help make the Arctic an amazing place. That book was called Walruses by Julie Murray. If you want to read more about polar animals, check out this list. It's full of books that we have here at the library that are all about polar animals. Feel free to pause the video and take a look and see if any of these are interesting to you. Polar Bear Island, written by Lindsay Bonilla and illustrated by Cinta Villalobos. Parker the polar bear is mayor of Polar Bear Island, and he doesn't want Kirby the penguin to move in and make trouble for him. Will Parker let Kirby move into the island? Polar Opposites, written and illustrated by Eric Brooks. Alex the polar bear and Xena the penguin are opposites in every way. Alex is big, Xena is little. Alex lives in the Arctic, Xena lives in the Antarctic. But can they find a way to meet in the middle? Penguinoid by Marcy Colleen and illustrated by Emma Yarlett. Orville the penguin wants to go to the moon, but the other animals don't think he can. Orville decides to build his own spaceship, but can he make it to the moon on his own? Thanks so much for joining us today. We're really glad to have you here. It's just the beginning of summer reading. So if you haven't signed up already, make sure you do that. If you need help signing up, feel free to stop by one of our libraries. We'd be more than happy to show you how to do it. But you can also sign up from home. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We're really happy to have you here, and we hope to see you next week. Take care, everybody.